Are we rolling? Okay. Hi. I'm Julius Steuer from the Heidelberg Institute for Theoretical Studies, and this is Toshiki from Saarland University. We are both going to present some work in progress on the evaluation of interplay of information status and information content in a multilingual parallel corpus. Yeah. So this talk has three parts. The first part, introduction, I will do. Then Toshiki will talk about annotation projection from our English corpus to the corpus, parts of the corpus in other languages. And then I will talk about some preliminary results and our next steps. Yeah. So the aim of our work is to bring together two dimensions of information management. The first of them is information status, which I think all of you know what it is. And it means just it is in the discourse, people rely on some backward information. Some information is new, some information was already mentioned. So in this, for example, one person says Trump is a criminal, and then the other person replies, no, he is not, but you are. Trump is an entity that's introduced to this, so the discourse, and the pronoun he that the other person uses refers to Trump, and therefore is seen as old. Yeah, and so here you can already see that language makes use of different kinds of words, kinds of constructions to talk about new, unknown or new, and known or old items. Yeah, so we know that information status has an effect on word order, namely that new items are usually placed earlier in utterance than given items or old items. So in this small example, The Hobbit and the Iron Black again, which is the first line, which you call the title of The Hobbit. The Hobbit is new, definitely, because you haven't heard of it before, so it's placed early. And then in the next line, which is the first line of the book, in a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Two new items, the hole and the ground, are in the early part of the sentence, and hobbit, because it was already mentioned, is in the second part. Yeah. But then, of course, because language is variable and there are stylistic options that you have, the next sentence, the given items or items are actually in the front, and then the new item is introduced in the very at the very end. And I'm gonna ask, okay, why is that? Why is there this variability? And one answer to this is that there's a second dimension of information management, that's information content, or as it's described as in surprisal theory in linguistics. So surprisal is just the amount of information in bits that a given word conveys. And usually it's operationalized as a logarithmic conditional probability of a word given context. And context can really be anything. It can be a word, it can be a sentence, it can be a document, a whole book, or also some like text external things. Yeah, and surprisal has been shown to correlate reasonably well with human measures of processing effort, for example, reading times and EEG signals. So this shows that surprisal has an influence on how language is shaped. And the question is now, how do these two information status and information content interact? And we want to look at that through the lens of uniform information density. So this is the tendency of speakers to distribute information that's a surprisal equally throughout a sentence or a text. So in the small example, on the left side, you see a non-optimal use of a channel capacity. So channel capacity means just the optimal number of bits that you as a listener or as a reader want to encounter. And you see there are a lot of spikes. Sometimes this surprisal is higher than the channel capacity. Sometimes there's a trough, it's lower than the channel capacity. And that's usually taken to be, as experimentally shown to be, less preferred by speakers or by listeners or readers. Yeah. So on the right side, you see a good use of channel capacity, and the surprisal always stays below or maybe slightly above. And this is usually associated with better understandability and many other downstream measures. Yeah. Yeah. So our question now is, how does this interaction between information status and information density or surprisal reflect in the world's languages? And in order to do that, Andrew annotated the English part of our corpus, CIEP Plus, for information status. And then Toshiki used these annotations to project information status to other languages in the corpus. And this is going to explain to you.
Okay, so we use a multilingual parallel corpus that contains like over 40 languages. And so our workflow is to first use the English subsection of the corpus called keep inf. And then from English, we will project information status to like diverse languages. And first, like we have gold annotations, like human annotated gold annotations for information status for like 7 languages, and then like so we can measure the projection quality with the gold standard. But for like other languages, since we have a lot of languages, for other languages without gold data, we cannot measure the performance. But also, some languages might drop, for example, pronouns, and so maybe like for those like dropped pronouns, information status won't be projected. So like we also want to for this we can use unlabeled data as well. So we want to calculate how much information status is kept like after projection. And then after that, using the projected information status, we will, and also the gold data, we will assess the relation between information status and the surprisal. So for this is the corpus we will use from this paper, multilingual parallel corpus for co-reference resolution and information status in literary domain. And for this, we have manually annotated information status, and information status is annotated in a binary way, like new item or given item. And this I will talk about information status projection. So we first align sentence, and then using a neural model called BERT align. And in this example, you can see English sentence and Portuguese sentence will be aligned. And using the aligned sentence, we will align words. And then if 2 words are aligned and the English word has an information status, we will project the information status from English to the target language. And this is the example. And for example, in English sentence, Melquiades, who was an honest man, warned him, it won't work for that. And the French equivalent sentence, parallel sentence, would be Melquiades, qui était un homme honnête, le mis en garde, ça ne se passe. And in this example, you can see that Melquiades would be aligned with Melquiades in French, and also man would be aligned with homme, and him would be aligned with le, and for those, English has an information status, and we want to project it into the French version. And we do it, for many sentences and for diverse languages. And this is the performance of projection, on gold data. And here, we have 7 languages, 7 gold data. And, we calculate precision. And the orange bar is nouns, and the blue bars denote, pronouns, and the green bar is proper nouns. So we can see that for nouns, for pronouns, actually the performance tends to be good, and this is probably because for pronouns mostly information status is given, and also pronouns tend to be the frequent words, so it's easy to align, and also information status tends to be consistent. But for nouns, it has a lower accuracy, and we can lower precision. And this is especially for Hindi and Turkish. We can see that the orange bar kind of drops, and this could be because of the word order. For Hindi and Turkish, it's SOV. So yeah, maybe it might have something to do with the word order. And now, like, using unlabeled data as well, like we want to see how much information status is kept. And like, the orange bar indicates English, so it's 100%. And since it's always projected to other languages, information status will be reduced. And we can see, like, how much information status is kept. And like, for some languages, like, it's only reduced a little bit. But for also, like, for other languages, we can see that, like, it's reduced substantially. And okay, I will pass. Okay, I will pass it back to.
Okay, yeah. So now that we have at least some annotation projections on our corpus, we go back to the question of, okay, how does information status and information content, information density interact? Yeah, and we two intuitions about how this might play out. So firstly, for any given item in a text, usually because it's given, there's more information about it in the context. There must be some information about it in the context. So maybe surprisal should maybe be smaller, and there should be some deviation from channel capacity. But then if UAD holds independently of information status, then you would expect that the linguistic form, so word order, lexical choices, or construction type, to accommodate high or low surprisal items, so that these effects even out, and we get roughly the same surprisal for given new items. Yeah, which I think was also obvious from the first example that this could potentially be the case. Yeah, so in order to test this, we estimate a surprisal on our corpus with a multilingual language model, a large multilingual language model, MGPT. And we calculated the per language deviation from the channel capacity. From the channel capacity for given new items. Yeah, so the channel capacity here is just the average surprisal of words in one language. Yeah, so now this allows us to formulate a research question a bit more precisely. So what you want to know is, does this formalization of information density hold for given new items? So is there a significant difference in surprisal between new and given items when viewing the channel capacity? Yeah, so we have some preliminary results. They're mostly not very exciting. So what we found for nouns, for example, is that surprisal for new given nouns always stays relatively close to channel capacity. So although we get like some significant effects, they are mostly so small that it isn't really relevant. For proper nouns, we find something different, something more interesting. We find that new proper nouns usually, for many languages, have surprisal that exceeds the channel capacity. Yeah, and this might point to the fact that proper nouns are used differently in different situations than normal nouns, unsurprisingly. Yeah, so initially we also want to look at pronouns, but it turns out that finding new pronouns is very difficult, at least in the way our annotation was done. So we instead only look at given pronouns. And here we also find what one would expect. So surprisal for given nouns and pronouns usually falls below the channel capacity. So it's smaller than for new nouns. But for proper nouns, we find again find something interesting, namely that it exceeds channel capacity for some languages. But also here, the effect sizes are generally small, and sometimes, and most of the time, these effects are not significant. Yeah. So what are we to make of this? So firstly, it depends very much on the quality of the projections. I think since we ran the experiments for our preliminary results, the alignment models got a lot better. Yeah, so this already helps a lot. And then another thing that I think we need to address is that on analysis of information status is too coarse-grained. So we only have two categories, new and old, while in the literature there's usually a third major type of information status that's mediated. It's somewhere in between new and given. It means that an item is like the posting of an item, for example, is facilitated by an item that preceded it. as an example, it's hard to raise one child, taken from the Listen with Alt paper directly, so it's not my imagination that matches up. It's hard to raise one child without them. So here one child is new, them would be mediated. And then thinking they are the pivot point of the universe, and here they would be given because it's referring back to them and is already introduced. Yeah. Also, there's a second category of items that fall under the immediate information status, and that's, for example, entities that are known just from general knowledge, like in the sense the Earth revolves around the sun. Neither the Earth nor the sun are really new in the sense that people didn't know about them before, but rather they can be assumed to be in the backward knowledge. Yeah, they're not really new. And I think it is possible to use the information that we have in our corpus, like the dependency paths, to figure out the difference between some of the items we annotated as old or given, and which might be mediated. For example, if a pronoun is bound to another pronoun, another pronoun, then we know, okay, this is maybe one of them has to be mediated. And if something is a proper noun, for example, maybe we can also assume that it's mediated, and not actually old or new. Yeah. Okay, that was our talk.